The amazing Kenyon Dixon is in the building. I am so proud of his career. I don't think I could have kicked this off with anyone better than this amazing composer. So please welcome to the stage. You guys are going to get a conversation because we just had like a candid one already. Kenyon Dixon, 2-time Grammy-nominated composer, writer, straight here from California. Kenyon Dixon. Why are you taking a breath already? What's happening?
Some drinks. If I say anything I'm not supposed to, just blame the bartender.
All right, you guys. So this podcast is really about talking to creatives behind the camera, off the field, and behind the stage. It's not enough to just be performers, but to be very versatile in the entertainment business as a whole. And so Kenyon Dixon is really that guy who's redefining how you morph in this industry. So we want to first hear, so we were just talking upstairs about the whole rap battle, and he comes from the heart of where rap battles are started, right? The whole, we're not going to say the names because the podcast is about Kenyon. But Kenyon, tell us about like Watts. What was it like growing up in Watts? And we're going to talk about your journey, but your journey starts from somewhere.
Yeah.
So tell us about Watts, and did it have any influence into you being a creative, period?
Got you. So yes, I'm born and raised in Watts, the Jordan Downs Project specifically. So if you guys know anything about Watts, the way it's sectioned, you have, like residential neighborhoods, and then you have 4 projects that separates us, which is the Jordan Downs where I'm from. You have the Nickerson Gardens, you have the Haciendas, and the Imperial Courts. And so growing up there, very, very interesting. I think I had like a non-traditional upbringing because my parents are ministers. So here I am, my environment being the projects, which is polar opposite of everything that I'm seeing Monday through Sunday inside of the house. And so I had, like growing up, I wasn't able to listen to anything other. My father's a quartet singer, amazing guitarist. My mother is a singer. So I grew up on a lot of like quartet music. Like if you guys listen to the Winans and the Jackson Southernaires and the Mighty Clouds of Joy, but also Kirk Franklin, Hezekiah Walker, and you know what I mean? So yeah, East Coast. So for myself, it was, that dichotomy was pretty insane because, I lived the life I lived outside of the house, but I knew when I stepped foot inside of that door, all of that went out of the window. But Monday through Sunday, really, I was like in church. My mother so I was raised in Church of God in Christ. And my mother is a Kojic evangelist, a district evangelist. So I was,
she got the oil and everything, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So I was like in the pews doing homework because she's teaching YPWW and YWCC and like you name it. So just interesting dynamic because my friends that wasn't their lifestyle, and for a long time growing up, I was kind of embarrassed to kind of share, what my lifestyle was with my friends because it was nothing like that. They didn't go to church. They didn't, they could listen to any type of music. You know what I mean? Like we would get in trouble for even bringing secular music into the house. So, just growing up and watching in general, I think it taught me firsthand how to work yourself like through adversity and how to, dream bigger, because I think like in that environment, if I only dreamed based on what that environment taught me, I don't think that I would have seen a lot of the wins that I have seen. But for some reason, just who I was as a child, I always felt like there was something bigger and more that I should be striving for. So, yeah, being in Watts, the hustle was unmatched, though, especially being an independent artist. What that has taught me is how to get stuff on my own. If I want something, I know how to go and get it. So.
But when you talk about your faith, so we were upstairs talking, and you guys are all in the industry, and when you meet some artists, it can be very like standoffish and very pompous. And he was so genuinely just chill, right? And so do you believe that faith and that having vision, you know, they talk about having vision and having dreams. Do you feel like from a child you had dreams, but now your life has morphed into fulfilling a vision maybe that God has called you to do?
Absolutely. I think real faith, though, because we'd have to talk outside of just the church, the four walls, and outside of religion. But faith is something that I've learned, that I've redefined as an adult, and I've learned it not connected to the business of religion, which was something that I was brought up in. And so I think that that's where that connectivity comes in, and my love for people and outreach really comes from me understanding through my life's experiences that that's what we have in common. Because I think, you know, growing up in the church, you know, there's a million different religions in the world. And I've always felt like there has to be something else that we're connected on, because there's no way that this disconnects us. But even from your single religion, your belief is that your God has created all of these people. So there's no way that we don't have anything else in common. So I think when we look at life and love and outreach outside of religion, we get to see that we're all connected by being humans and sharing the human experience. So that has helped me just navigate and learn how to, you know, deal with people, because we're pretty much all alike.
So was your first song like a faith-based song?
Absolutely.
Oh, wait, please share. Please share. Do you remember the melody of this song? Come on.
I had so two sides to this. One, when I was in like elementary school, I thought I was going to be a rapper. I didn't want to be a singer.
Wait. We're not going to get on that yet.
Yeah.
Hold on, because we have to get on that. But yeah, that's the next question. But you have to sing your first. Do you remember the melody of the song?
I'm trying to see if I even remember what it was. I do know that it was a
Did you sing in church? Because everybody sang in church.
Of course.
Okay, so then maybe you can share a little bit of the first song you sang in church.
My first song that I sang in church, somebody told me what it was called on Twitter, but it was a song that's like, you say that you are my sheep, why are you follow me? I just don't remember what the actual song is called, but it's like like Mississippi Children's Choir or something. They told me, because I didn't remember.
Does anyone know that song?
There we go. I am your shepherd.
Who said that? Who said I am your shepherd? Okay.
Of course, it's Joe. That was my first solo, like in the church choir, like ever.
Wow.
Yeah.
And is that when you knew you could sing? Did you know did you know that was something you could do? Like, where was your mind at that time?
So I always knew I could sing because it was hereditary. Like my mother and my father sings. I'm the youngest of 7 in total. They're all musically inclined. So that was like the family thing. So that's also why I had no interest in singing. Anybody who's the youngest, you know, you're always trying to find like your thing. So I'm like, everybody sings, I have to do something different. So I played like every sport imaginable. I was dancing, I was doing all type of stuff, only for me to come back to singing because I had purpose there. But yeah, I always knew, and I think I just fought it for a long time.
Wow. Well, then let's just jump into this professional career. So you're growing up in Watts. What high school did you go to?
So I graduated from Washington
High. That's an arts high school, right?
Washington Prep.
Not really.
Yes, like not like unofficially it's an arts high school, but we were known for our music program for sure.
So did you do anything musical in high school?
Yes, I didn't try to. So I first went to Taft, which is in Woodland Hills. That was my first exposure to the Valley. I didn't even know that was a world that like existed. So I was getting bussed out there. I got kicked out. We won't talk about that. And I got sent back. If you know anything about LA Unified, they automatically send you back to your home school. They take your choice away. It's over. So they sent me to Washington. And here I am at Washington trying to like establish this new life. Like I want to come here. I don't want anybody to know that I do anything. I want to be a regular person. I made a friend who told one of our teachers who helped with like student cabinet the talents that I had. They told this teacher that I danced and sang, and this teacher approached me and was like, "You're about to perform at all of these assemblies." And so she's Miss Sims, my math teacher who failed me the first semester. She's actually responsible for like a lot of my interest in the arts now, because that's pretty much what happened. I went to the school and I didn't want to be involved in any music or anything, but she really pushed me to to do it, and that kind of kept me motivated throughout that time and after high school and now.
So it's always interesting if any of you guys have listened to the past podcasts to hear how people stumble into their gifts or God morphs you back into your gifts. And it's just interesting to hear you say, like, you tried to get away from it. And that's the humility that I got from Mr. Kenyon upstairs. But you have to say that it's not just faith and humility that got you where you are. You had to be bold at some point, right? Yeah. So at what point did you get your first song placed? And, like, how did that happen?
The story of my first placement, I think,
because how did they know you had the gift, right?
Insane how it happened. So I started in like 2011 or 2010. One of my first professional like BGV gigs was with Tyrese. And so I was singing with Tyrese and...
Wait, but how did you get the gig with Tyrese?
So growing up in LA, you know, we had a lot of open mic spots and, you know, different venues that we would all frequent that most of them don't exist anymore. So I grew up like the last of an era with like Cozy's and the Foxhole and Weber's and all these spots. And
Wait a minute. Y'all know those places? Because I'm from Texas, so I don't know any of these places. Y'all know some of these places? Y'all frequent these places?
Yeah, okay. They were like some real LA spots. Okay. And so, especially Cozy's. Cozy's was like the who, like who's who. You can walk in there, you'll see Prince and Shaka sitting in there, and the places is about as big as just from here to here. You know what I mean? And so, how a lot of us started working in the professional world was a lot of those musicians became MDs for artists, and nobody likes to hold auditions necessarily. So you just call who you think would, you know, get the job done. So I got calls, and that's what happened with Tyrese. His MD, my brother, Scooter Sledge. Scooter called me and was like, to come to Center Staging. Not Center Staging, to SIR. He called me and was like, yo, can you get to SIR? Tyrese needs some singers. Like, if you can get here, like, it's your gig. And at the time, I'm like 20, 21, you know what I mean? So I'm like, all right, I'm on my way. So I go there. End up doing that first gig with Tyrese, and then became like his vocal director. And so I started working with Tyrese.
Backtrack. You just become a vocal director.
It was crazy. I think me and Tyrese have unrealistic synergy. We're both from Watch. There was already something like brewing there that I feel like was divine outside of just me showing up there. And so I started working with Tyrese. I get a call one night. And his MD Scooter is like, can you come to the house? Tyrese is working on, you know, he's working on an album. He wants the singers to come and cut some backgrounds. I'm like, okay, cool. So I get there. The writers aren't there. So we have downtime. Tyrese is the type of person where he really doesn't care who it comes from. If you can get the job done, he just wants what he wants. So he comes in, he plays some tracks, and he's like, yo, if y'all hear anything, like, just hop in the booth, you know, and lay it down. So I'm like, okay. So I hop in the booth, I lay down this melody, he comes in like, yo, who did that? I'm like, it's me. He's like, yo, keep going, like, finish that idea. And literally from me being there, just showing up, and I was only there to sing whatever somebody else had written. He had no idea that I was a writer. And thank God that the actual writers that he was looking for were late. That landed me my first placement and my first Grammy nomination, actually.
Wow, yeah. Congratulations.
Literally,
and what song is this for?
It's a song called What Took You So Long on this Open Invitation album.
What Took You So Long?
Yep.
You going to sing a little bit of that?
I'm probably not going to sing that one.
You're not going to sing that one?
Just
Why?
not that one.
Not that one.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have some music supervisors in the room. You have to tell us, like, did you know about paperwork, making sure your paperwork, you know, your song splits were together? And
yeah.
You did?
No.
Oh.
My yeah was affirming what you were saying.
Oh.
Yeah. Nah, I didn't know anything. And I did my first publishing deal shortly after because I ended up writing majority of Tyrese's next album, which is his Black Rose album. And so it made sense to do the publishing deal. I talked about this on R&B Money. It made sense for me to do the publishing deal because I was writing all of these records for him. So it was easy recoupment. In the middle of us doing that deal, in the middle of us working on the album, he went independent. Little did I consider in my contract, it stated that these must be major releases. So I was stuck, and you know, if any of you guys know anything about contracts, at the time MDRC deals were still a thing. So I was stuck in an MDRC deal, which was based on percentages. So as a songwriter, my MDRC was maybe 2.5. That's 250%. So you're looking at a songwriter that has to come in and collaborate and get up to 250%, but you're walking out of sessions with like 10% on a song. So that was like a really, really huge lesson for me that I'm glad I learned, you know, at a young age. But it was so funny because then, like, when I got out of it and I talked about it, like, a lot of like the OGs are like, oh, I could have told you, like, well, where were y'all? Because
so interesting, right? So this is a very tough, testy question, right? And it goes to what you said and people passing the torch, especially in our community, with making sure that even though you may not know what you know, somebody else knows what you don't know and why that torch wasn't passed on, right? So I'm sure a lot of us, I see some creatives out here, like, what you said, you're glad you went through that, but can you explain to the audience, the teens who will be listening, what is your mental going through? Like, are you like, I'm never going to do this again, or I'm never going to let this happen to me again, or how could they do this? Like, where were you mentally to be able to say, you know, to toughen up as a lesson? Like you said, I'm glad I went through this.
At the time, it definitely uninspired me. And the way that manifested was I wouldn't do any collaborative sessions. It made me not creative because all I kept thinking about is I can't walk out of this room without anything less than 50% because I have to get to this 250%. So I forfeited a lot of collaborations early on with people that I really wanted to work with because my mind was only on, while it's great to work with you, this is not really going to get me out of this deal. And so I changed that. I kind of flipped that around and I got to a point to where I started realizing, like, you just work smarter. Like, instead of feeling like I had to limit myself, I just started, you just kind of have fun with it because you're I don't want to say stuck, but realistically, like, what am I going to do until I get to this 250%? So I have to create.
So what did you do after that? Like, what was your process? Did you lay low for a few months? Like, what did you do?
Yeah, I stopped working on music for a while. I think I took maybe like a year of like not working on anything, especially no collaborating. Like, everything I was doing was staying at home in my computer. Like, it was just me getting my my ideas out. But it took me a while to feel comfortable enough and safe enough to get back into, like, creating and having fun. I think I was most disappointed because I felt like in that moment I didn't love doing music. And that was something that I went into it. That was like my main thing. I love this. And here's something that my love for it can make it lucrative. I'm not getting into this to make money. It's just that I can do it. I'm good at it and it will make me money. But then when you get to the point to where you're like, yes, I can do it. I'm good at it. I love it, but nothing is coming from this. That's what really made me kind of step back and like reevaluate if it's something I even wanted to do. But the positive in that is really what allowed my solo artistry to blossom, because in that time, that's where I just locked in at home and started working on stuff just for me because I didn't want to collaborate. So I feel like that did spark something positive, but I'm glad that I didn't stay locked in that mindset.
Wow. That's inspiring. Seriously, right? Am I right? Because some people can literally just quit. I know a lot of people who I started out working with and they just stopped. So kudos to you for taking that breath, taking that beat. So we're gonna change a little bit. So I read somewhere that you thought you were gonna be a rapper. And your ultimate person to work with is Drake.
Yeah.
So, right. Oh, wow. Right. Yeah. So tell us, like, what made you think about being a rapper? Like, do you have rapping skills? You want to show us some? You want to give us some bars?
I'm actually great at rapping. Like,
really?
Because I can write. I can pretty much write anything. But here's the interesting thing, like, perspective that nobody knows about being a rapper. Growing up in Watts, it's not cool to be an R&B singer. So if you were going to do music, it was more likely that you should be rapping. Nobody wants to, like, you're not affirmed growing up in a setting like that where you're like, I want to be a singer. So I felt like if I was doing music and it was going to be something that was extending outside of the home, because singing to me meant being in church. That was it. That's all I associated it with. So for me, rapping was like, cool, I want to do music, so this has to be my avenue. And so a lot of my early, like, but I mean, I was in like 4th and 5th grade. Like, we would go to the tables at lunch and do the beat to like grinding by the clips on the lunch table and like freestyle over it. You know what I mean? Like that's what that was for me. But I low key feel like deep inside I knew that wasn't gonna stick. It now that I think about it, it kind of felt like a facade and me trying to trick myself into believing like, don't be as talented as you are, because that wasn't validated in my environment. So I felt like it was like embarrassing to admit that you were good at something that wasn't the norm.
Wow. And so when you see your friends or peers from childhood, like, do they feel like you're here and they're here? Like, how do they treat you now? Is it like, man, you were doing that then? Like, does it feel, is it still like humbling, or is it kind of like, man, I'm glad I stuck to this? I'm glad I stuck to it. It's amazing though, because they're very affirming now. Like, I'm like their prized possession. Like, they feel like, yo, that's our guy. Like, if none of us are doing anything, like, we're rooting for you. And I think that to me, like, you know, we're talking about friends I grew up like in the sandbox with. Like, you know, they reach out just to let me know like how they'll send me pictures of like, yo, I was in this Uber and your song came on, or like, I'm listening to this right now, or I see them in the comments on posts. If people are like, R&B is dead, they're like, you're not listening to Kenyon. Like, no,
so,
seriously,
yeah.
They're not listening to you. I'm not gonna lie. That's one of the questions. Is there a musical composition that you wrote? So, you know, there's, once again, creators in here. We're sensitive about our music.
Yeah.
Is there a song that you wrote that you were like, dang, I wanted it for me, but you were able to place it on someone else?
There's a song I just recently did for Justin Timberlake called What Lovers Do. And I'm the R&B guy, and that song has the spirit of Jodeci all over it.
Very 90s.
And so I think, yeah, and it's crazy too, because like I demoed it, you know, like we write together in the studio. So typically I'll go in and lay it down like quickly, you know what I mean? So like, it's like I already heard me on the record. And so, but he did like an incredible job with the execution. Like that made me feel great about it. Like that, anything I felt like I would have done to the record when I heard it, I'm like, you did it. So, but that was one of those records that I was like, dang, I may still just record a cover at this point. Yeah.
Did you demo it?
I did demo it.
Oh, well then that's,
I mean, you know that you know it's hard to get demos out of sessions.
You know. So walk us through the path of writing your music. Like, when you're working on yourself, is it different from working with another artist? Is it the same process? Walk us through that. I'm always curious. Do you get the tracks first? Do you produce your own music?
I produce a lot of it.
Oh, excuse me. Well, then that makes sense.
First
of all, how many of you guys,
easily.
Right? How many of you guys have listened to Kenyon's music? We're gonna get into like his musical changes. Okay, so y'all already know. So I hope y'all have questions as well. But Kenyon, seriously, walk us through the process of like how do you start? Are you up at 2 a.m. in the morning? Are you writing lyrics first? Like, what is your process?
I'm up at all times. I think so. Fun fact, I'm like 7-8 albums in. 100% of my music that I've released, I've recorded at home. I've never went into a studio and made a single Kenyon Dixon record ever. And so the way I work is I'll literally go to, you know, my computer, and sometimes I'll start my ideas. I have two main co-producers that I work with, my guy Frank Rose and my guy Marcus Curtis. And so we've built this like level of trust, because I'm very big on like, so although I'm a producer, the way I feel is I only produce for me. Like, I only produce to get ideas out. I have no interest in producing records for like other people. And so I trust them, because when I feel like I've hit a ceiling but the song can be better, I send it to them, and they already know what to add. But how I work is, I have all my equipment at home. I engineer myself. I pre-mix most of it.
Wait, so are you self-taught when you say engineer yourself? Because that's like an art in itself.
Yeah, so shout out to LA Unified because I learned...
we have some LA Unified people in here.
Hey.
Okay. Two.
Just
I
the
love
two
it.
of us. Yes. We strong though. That's all that matter.
Y'all hanging in there?
Yeah,
Y'all hanging in there. It looks like
we there.
All right.
I took my first introduction to music production. I took an electronic music class in high school. This is when the Apple computers had the weird shape with the little the little cone in the back, and it would have like a color. It would be like orange or blue. Yeah. And so I took electronic music with my teacher, Mr. Rivera. And so I learned on GarageBand. And so then I had a friend, my best friend, incredible choreographer for Kendrick and Dua Lipa and all these people. She had an old laptop, an old MacBook that the hinges were broken. I mean, like there was no in between. It's either closed or it's all the way back. And so she gave me this laptop, and that laptop also had GarageBand. And I started recording myself into the computer mic and learned how to mix because I was just like a geek, and I was like, I need to figure out how to put like a gate on this and like a compression to learn how to like get as much. Like I'm talking about, it was like down to a science. I knew like, let me go in a room in a closet because there's clothes there, so to soak up some of the.
But how did you know how to do that though? Did you just know that you needed just dry sound? Like how did you know that? Or is it just God given? Like you just figured it out? You
kind of just figuring it out, literally. Like because even what I learned in electronic music. In high school, we didn't record. We only produced. So I literally just knew how to look through settings and find like, okay, what does this do? And I had no idea. And so I started recording and, doing all this stuff. And then voila, Logic, which is a step up from GarageBand. I learned that the controls were pretty much the same because it's also Apple software. So I was like, okay, let me try it with this. But then what I started doing when I started writing, I would go to sessions early because they're using Pro Tools. This was foreign to me. I'm coming from GarageBand. I would go to sessions early and I would ask engineers for templates. And I would be like, can you send me this template? Like, can you make me a template? Send it to me. I would watch them load up stuff and ask questions about how this stuff works.
Wow. Okay, so let's pause. So, because this is a podcast. Yeah. I just have to salute you because not too many men and women know how to just boldly ask for things. So like I want to salute you on that because I'm literally sitting here like, wait, what? This is my first time hearing this, by the way, you guys. So the fact that you even knew to just say like, teach me, the humility in what you have, I have to commend you on that. And that's a big deal, right? But were you scared when you asked these questions, or were you really just like, I'm here, let me just figure this out? Like, where were you?
Honestly, I had no shame because I felt like what I was here for, I was going to deliver. So I'm here early on purpose because this isn't cutting into why I'm actually here. If we're starting at noon, I'm asking all my questions at 11:30. Like come noon, I'm a writer, but give me that template and send it to me. So that's kind of I didn't really have any shame because my focus was just on wanting to get better and improve. And I didn't have to have shame because I was only taking all of this stuff back home. So I could be bad just to me. Nobody had to see that. So I got a chance to make all these mistakes in private and perfect it and pop out. And now I'm in sessions like, turn the high mids down, give me -2 dB here. You know what I mean? This is all from me just doing research and asking questions.
So can you teach a class on it at this point?
I could.
Can you go back to LA Unified and teach a class?
Absolutely. I've done it too, yeah.
All right, we're recruiting him on the spot. So tell us about like when you got into your professional, like I know people ask me oftentimes, like, when did you know this was going to be a career? And I tell people, well, when I got that real check, when you just doing those $150 gigs, you're just like, oh, I'm just doing this for my mama's church. But when you get that real check, right, that weekly check or that tour check, that's when you knew like, okay, maybe I can make this a living. So tell us before we get into the music, because we're about to play some music, when did you know what, this is my calling, this is where I'm set, no matter what comes my way, this is my purpose? When was that pivotal moment?
So when I graduated from high school, within that next year, I got my first professional background. I don't want to say BGV because I've heard that like people don't know what that means sometimes, but BGV is background vocalist. I got my first BGV gig, and it was with DJ Quick, which is crazy because it's like West Coast legend. Yeah. So it's like me, Terrace Martin, like my sister Q Dixon was there.
You're
like
singing background?
Singing background.
What song you singing background on?
Well, you know, he also has...
Like a
So, fun fact about DJ Quick, he's actually a great vocalist. But you know, a lot of his songs have melodic hooks. So we would do stuff like, you know, he has like, Come On, Let's Get Down with, is it Dwayne Wiggins? From Tony.
Oh, okay.
Like, so he has a lot of songs so that's really what that was about, having the male and the female voice to cover those, you know, those moments. And so I remember after that gig feeling like, yeah, I got to do this. Like this, I got a little taste of, you know, like what that felt like. And so after that, I went on to work with Tyrese. And touring with Tyrese, I think Tyrese was my first tour. After touring, I think that's when it really hit me. Because you also, like you said, you got that salary coming in
it's
every
a different
week.
check.
It's
not the come on, do a gig for $450.
Yeah. It's not the $50 gig, which I was okay with. You know what I mean? Because you're coming up, and it's like when you're just starting in the game, like you just wanna sing. I'm a music soul child. Like I just want to sing, and so that's how it kind of felt starting off. I was doing those gigs where you show up to like a gig and they're like giving you gas money. That was okay because I probably caught a ride with somebody there. Like I didn't have a car.
Do you still do those gigs though? For real?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's the truth.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna play. Let's give a round of applause to Mr. Kenyon for being nominated for Lucky. We're going to play a little bit of this song, and he's going to dissect it a little bit because most of you guys raise your hands. The musical changes that you use in your music is blowing my mind. So we're going to listen to Lucky, and he's going to dissect how he even wrote this song. And he was nominated for a Grammy for this song. We got to talk about that.
Don't you do it, don't hurt him. Oh my God, girl, you look amazing. Just how I like. And you're all mine. Ain't even try to look at you. Girl, are you so fly, waking up. Perfect in my eyes, you're the truth. Really took its time, one guys on my side. She's on my side. Or maybe I'm just lucky, but I'm so glad you're stuck with me. Maybe I'm just lucky, baby, but you're stuck with me.
So Kenyon is pulling up a note that we're gonna hear. So we want to know, first of all, for the musical creatives in the room, these minor changes that you keep giving, it's like a motif. Is that your thing? Is that like your thing? First of all, let's give him a round of applause because the song is just, it is real R&B.
Thank you.
Is R&B dead though?
Nah.
With that song, like seriously, it cannot be dead when you listen to you, Kenyon. Seriously,
I appreciate
it is
that.
So like just your changes, and I don't want to throw out a name, but it just reminds me of Shep Crawford and how he was big on that. You know what I mean? So tell us, like, is that your motif? Like when you wrote this song, did you already hear that melody?
So, I will say like accidentals, like these chromatic walk downs, that seems to be my thing that
It's not seems to be. It is your thing on every
I love
every
it.
song.
It's my way of inserting like musicality in the records, because as an artist, especially, I'm an independent artist. So I feel like I play by a different set of rules, and I just make the music I want to make. But you're typically told, like, if you want to go mainstream, you got to make sure it's something that the average person understands. I've never agreed with that, because I feel like it's your job as a professional to bring people up to your level of understanding. There's no way I could go to a dentist who's giving me a root canal and I tell them, well, I saw on TikTok that you should probably do it this way. You know what I mean? I think that it's very important to introduce listeners of music to musicality. Like, why are we listening to music that doesn't display music? So that's always something I've enjoyed. And I'm a big lover of jazz. Like, jazz is another part of what I do. You know what I mean? So I'm always trying to find ways to just incorporate like theory and just different things that, that I know in there. So with that record, I freestyled a lot of that record. It happened two different ways. I was at the end of a project, my album, The R&B You Love, and I get in these moods, like, because that album is all about the different eras of R&B. So I was in this like 70s mood, and I hit my boy Marcus, who I said is one of my co-producers, and I was like, man, I don't have any ideas like to produce anything. Do you have anything like 70s-esque? And he's like, go back through some of the tracks I've sent you. Like, I think you'll hear something. So I went back. I'm in the garage on my skates, literally, at my house. I'm like,
roller skates?
Roller skating.
Roller skates.
Just roller skating
you
around
roller
the garage.
Skate.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
yeah. So I'm just like, 4 wheels though. So I'm just on my skates, and I pull up this track and I hear it, and I'm like, man, and it's just a loop. Like, it wasn't nearly as developed as what you hear. And I started like mumbling stuff, and I went in the house immediately and I freestyled that first verse. And so I'm trying to find a memo, because then later that day I was in the car, and while I was in the car, the like vamp of that song, I'm just like vibing, like trying to find the words for it. And it's just so crazy, because you spend a lot of your career, regardless of what you do, being super intentional. And it's like I've submitted for like Grammys so many times, and it's like, here's a song that I finished in like 20 minutes, and they're like, here's a Grammy nomination. I'm like, yo, what about all of the other songs? Yeah. So I think that's just a testament though to like just divinity and like timing. Like, when you're in that, in that pocket, that's just one of those things you can't fight. And that's what I feel like Lucky represents. Like, I honestly like felt that, and I think that's why the song came to me so quickly, because it was obviously something that needed to get out. So I'm super grateful that it has experienced like that high, because I never even imagined that for that song.
It's like one of my favorite songs.
Thank you.
You're like a crooner on that song.
Like,
did you feel those lyrics? Did you feel like you're lucky about
100%.
something? Oh, okay.
100%.
Well, we felt that.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to play Technicolor, which is up next. So tell us how you started working with Justin Timberlake. I don't know. Have you guys heard Justin's last album? This man has about 80% written on the doggone song. Now, I do have a question before we play this, because there are music supervisors in the room, and I looked at the writers.
Yeah.
How do you sit in a room with, I've always wanted to know this, because I did it one time and I was like, there's no way I could do this again. Just with, 4 different writers, 5 different writers. But with Justin, of course, that would make sense.
Yeah.
So how does it come about that you're on a Justin Timberlake record with these different writers? And like, how does that, who starts those conversations?
Well, here's the interesting thing. I'm glad you asked that. There's a technicality now where a lot of producers are able to be credited as writers. So a lot of these records, it's only me and Justin that wrote these records.
Maybe we need to take that off audio. So it's not
no, it's okay. It's an important
say?
conversation. Yeah.
Oh, good.
And it's been had publicly, but it's interesting because a lot of songwriters, we are also producers, and we don't get credited for that. But we have producers who are able to get credited for writers. And what I realize is more of a technicality that keeps them in the loop when it comes to accolades. Because, for instance, if you're getting a nomination for like Song of the Year, like that's a songwriters award. So if you have the producers listed as the songwriter,
interesting,
then they're able to
so they're able to get a part of that award, even
100%.
But I thought that's what record comes from. Record of the year.
It's so the lines. There's like some blurred lines with this like entire process now, but there are songwriters, and now producers are being considered composers because they write music.
But don't you think that's kind of fair though? But you're saying, okay, so let me make sure I understand this. You're saying categorically it's not fair, but splits it's okay. Yes.
So when you do splits, it's typically still based off of production and songwriting,
right,
which makes it interesting though, because considering your question, you would read the credits and you would think that there were 4 or 5 writers on a song, when realistically only 2 of those people are the actual songwriters, and then you have 3 other producers.
So those Justin Timberlake songs that we see all those writers, you and him,
me and JT wrote the majority of those records together. Yeah,
because it's like 5, 6, 7 writers on some songs.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's literally producers and writers. That's all it is, and that's a conversation like that has started to happen publicly amongst writers and producers.
So do you think Spotify should like list and say producers and then writers?
I think they
do, right? On some,
I was gonna say, I know Apple does it because you'll see composer versus songwriter, but sometimes you'll also still see the composer listed as a songwriter. So it's just, there's like no real way to rectify it, unless, I think these are conversations that need to happen and need to happen internally to maybe change the way some of these things are displayed. Because I do think as a songwriter, we do a lot of things that would be considered production, but we don't get that same credit.
Interesting. Well, let's play Technicolor. I don't know if you guys have heard this song. It's probably one of my favorite songs off this album. But the song I jam is the V. Buzzman one. So that's
Sky's the limit.
Yeah, that's the jam. All right, so please enjoy Technicolor, a little bit of this on Justin Timberlake's latest project.
I need to say this. You're so fucking perfect, girl, in every way. Poetry, emotion, love in every shade. I love and hate to have to watch you walk away, so don't walk away. Stay. I'm Marilyn Monroe, but the modern day. Don't let all these lights and colors on you go to waste. Come closer and let me take up all your space. Let's connect to outer space. And I gotta say, every day, every night, only you. Couldn't stop, even if I wanted to. You do all the things that I wanna do. That's the thing about your love, baby, I can never get enough. Darling, I can never get enough.
Jason, can you skip to the middle? So this is what Kenyon does best with his time changes. It switches into a whole nother like syncopated. Keep going down a little bit more.
All the things that I wanna do.
The same song, y'all.
'Cause I don't wanna love, and that's the only thing I can write. Yeah, I just wanna feel this feeling. It's everything you feel. Let's make love and take the color. We can make it take all night. I won't fade if you don't. You don't.
All right, so let's give it up for this song, please, on Justin Timberlake's latest album. I hope you guys have questions because I'm wrapping it up here. Tell us how that song came about. So if you listen to the song, it's like 7 minutes long.
Yeah.
And that reminds me of Prince because he was the king of just elongated, segues and going from one time signature to another. And you nailed, like I literally, when I was playing the song, I was like, why did this song just switch to another time signature? Then I went and I was like, oh, it's still the same song. And then I had to go back and rewind to hear where it switched. And how did this whole, because people aren't making songs, first of all, that long. And then they're definitely not switching up the time signatures the way you guys nailed it in this song.
So that's, the 5, 6, and 7 minute songs, that's also Justin Timberlake's signature. Like, he's known for, like...
Well, he started working with Mike Scott. I think he got that influence from Mike
Prince,
Scott.
yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Uncle Mike, man. That's my guy. So me and JT have a lot of creative synergy. Like, we think alike. So we went back and forth with making that one song. It was initially like an interlude that then went into the other song, but he made the final decision of like, he knew how he wanted it to flow and how he wanted people to hear it. So it's like, this has to be, one record. The interesting thing about that song, so when we worked on this album for 5 years. And so I'm talking about from everywhere, from LA to Miami to the Bahamas to New York. Like, we worked on this album, Atlanta, we went everywhere. And so with Technicolor, we were at Conway in LA, and it was one of the days where, like, if there are any writers in here, if you've been in the studio sometimes with producers, they'll just play a million beats, and eventually you start like zoning out. And so this was one of the days where they had played so many beats that my mind was just like, I was like, okay, everything sounds like the same thing. So what I would do is they would always get me my own room in the studio where I could go with my own setup and just work on something on my own and then pop out a couple hours later like, here are 3 ideas. So Technicolor, how it started the first half, it was something I was working on my laptop. And so I presented it, and how me and JT work. Sometimes we'll start songs and we'll write them together from top to bottom. Sometimes it'll be like we'll split off and we'll both come back with ideas and we complete them. And so I came back with an idea and we just finished writing it from there. So that's kind of...
was it it was still 2 different songs?
2 different songs, completely different rooms, because the second half of Technicolor I did in Miami in a room with Timbaland. And this was just... It was JT is who came up with the concept of Technicolor. It was called something else. The melody and everything was the same. He's very conceptual, so he likes for things to like tell a story from top to bottom. So he came in, and we just started reworking everything. But these were 2 completely different songs that we didn't even know were gonna go together.
Wow. If you guys have not heard this song from top to bottom, promise you, just please, it's just 2 different vibes, but it's just one story. So Kenyon Dixon, ladies and gentlemen, if you have never heard his music, I'm telling you, just what he was saying, he has very deep lyrics. There's one that you're talking about where he's like basically talking about being an artist and the struggle. And I was like, from the very first line, I was like, wait, he's talking about, he's like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to make ends meet? If you've never listened to his music, please listen to his music. Please support, please download, please add it to your playlist. Is there anything else you want to say before, we sign off?
2 things. My latest single, Still, is out now on all platforms. And most importantly, I'm on tour this summer. You can get tickets at the R&B You Love .com. I'm everywhere. I'm also going out with my brother PJ Morton, who's another incredible artist, if you guys haven't heard. So yeah, catch me this summer on the road and go listen to Still on your way home.
Thank you guys so much for coming. Seriously.
Thank you.
Been searching ever since, trying to find something new. Every road I take just leads me back to you. Recalling memories, I just end up confused. I love the rhythm we had, but ain't the blues. All the time it was Figured I'd talk it through. Partied into forever, only to realize answers I'm searching for right here before my eyes. I thought keep a few shorties around and they'll disappear. But this feeling won't. Been searching and finally found it. I need you here. You stay on my mind, girl. My mind, you stay on my mind. Thinking about you, baby. All this time, girl. You still on my mind. Is this true love? Been right there in circles. I promise I'll try. If I'm being honest, all my pride aside, you still on my mind. My mind. You still on my mind, baby. Is this true love? Is this true love?
I promise I try. If I'm being honest, all my pride aside, been right there in circles. I promise I try. If I'm being honest, all my pride aside, been right there in circles.
I thought keep a few shorties around and they'll disappear. But this feeling won't. Been searching and finally found.